These are advanced strategies for business consulting, economy, industry, making and industry expanding, influencing. The first one is a simple cause and effect, flow or direction. Flow or direct, that'd be the domino effect, but more specifically, it'd be much more advanced than that. It would be one thing causing another, one move in a business causing another in the industry, one in the microeconomy, and then one causing, say, a marketing publicity movement just from one company itself. A direct action would be a specific thing that happened, one sale, one investment, one product sold, or a flow would be a general emphasis. It could be a marketing idea, like let's change the world, or some sort of a political movement towards a certain agenda. Something that's abstract and not direct and specific, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Diagonal influence, I call this the bishop, like the chess piece. It's a sequential movement similar to the cause and effect domino effect above, except for each time something happens, you personally create an influence that changes as the cause and effect continues. So your business, say, influences something else, and then you influence that directly from your business, and that creates another influence, and then you influence that thing again from there, or from another position where you can influence that, and then again. And this is called the ladder. It's sort of in order to get to a position where you want to be, let's say, a stockbroker. You start with a small company, and then you sell that company to another company, and then you move into an area where you could be like, you could have a reference for, like, say, a large-scale Merrill Lynch or whatever stockbroker company. Point is that you could never just start in there. You'd have to start from place to place to place, but that isn't specifically just a position to move upwards in a company, or some way to advance your career. It could also be a way from one company you buy to then sell to then add to another company, or merges to then influence an entire industry. Like, say you wanted to have one company and then you bought 3 daughter companies, and then that company then had a massive influence on an entire industry, and that entire industry had a massive influence on other things, stock prices, large-scale marketing capability influences for your original father corporation. And then a critical point of influence. This is one point within any system, a business, an industry, an economy, anywhere where you touch one thing, you make one influence, and it has a massive influence within the whole system. One idea dropped into a marketing department, even from the outside, can change the entire marketing of the business. From somebody just sending in the "just do it" idea to Nike, and one person picks it up, and then that expands, and it can even like double the stock and change the entire scope of an entire industry. And then, of course, there's combo moves where you have combinations of this, several CPIs in a row, or a ladder plus a CPI, or a diagonal plus a CPI hitting point after point after point. And then there's something I call the Swiss Army knife, and that's all of the collective moves all in one, or most of them in one movement, say one marketing pitch, or one business consulting idea sent out to one company. Here's another idea, a diamond. The diamond is one point of influence, a person, a company, and then it influences multiple different aspects. Like, it's one, we'll say, commercial that influences many people. A commercial based on something like an empathetic consideration to save a wildlife or something like that. And then all that is designed to influence one senator. So one point of influence for whatever it is, a decision within a company or something else. So the influence starts with one point, goes out to many points, and then comes back to one. Another idea is manufacturing. The concept of manufacturing is creating a cash flow system, but you make sure that it's created autonomously. So you create one business or one type of business, and then you have another business. What you don't just create the business, like you have a business that can fundamentally help, say, other businesses. So one business is, it's sort of like the SBA. or something like that. So all you'd have to do is train the smallest amount of like 3 or 10 people within a small company, and they would have the most mundane jobs, but they can create large scale companies automatically, quickly, almost like a manufacturing assembly line, so that the company itself is just a self-running company pretty much, or a self-running entity of some kind of business, some positive influence towards some goal you have in an industry, and the entire thing is set up so that you don't even have to do anything, and it just continues to do it, so it expands and continues to create more and more of the exact same thing with little effort. Interwoven is taken from the idea of the diagonal influence, the bishop. So you have one point of influence, and you move to another one, then another one, and another one, and another one, and that's called a thread. One aspect of a cause and effect, but then you have two. So you have two companies, they do a mutual, say, project, say, marketing on one element, and then that creates two different causal effects, and then they come back to another one, and those are interwoven, two threads, and you can have several threads. And then, of course, thread turns into a blanket. Blanket turns into multiple blankets, where one thread is one industry. We'll say this is steel industry, this is entertainment industry, and this is the food industry. The whole time, several threads within each one inter-affect each other. And this could also be just different departments within your corporation, or it could be different companies, daughter companies, or things like that, or allied companies that are allied or congruent as far as genres of products that they sell. And they could be 3 different fields. And it could even be something totally different: business, politics, some humanitarian effort. But these are just general concept strategies. Interwoven would be, these are the influence capabilities. This could be like your marketing capability. This could be your sales capability. This could be influence within the industry itself. This could be, we'll say, a direct influence within the industry as far as your product is concerned, and all of its capabilities as far as adjusting it to influence different things. And all those can be influenced through some of these other aspects, or directly towards specific goals: increased money, increased growth, increased brand awareness, increased marketing. And each one accomplishes everything. So one thing: how can the product create more growth? How can the product create more marketing? How can the product create more branding? And so they're interwoven, so you have multiple different objectives accomplished from individual influence points. This is called a horse move. These would be like domino pieces that have fallen down. This is one influence. One influence would be a company that completely fundamentally changes all the marketing strategies, all of the fundamental anticipated ways that any industry would move by making one move. It changes everything. Like, oh, we're just going to introduce this one invention or this one product that changes the entire thing. In and of itself, not necessarily to take out competition or to acquire money, or in the sense where you take out the rest of the industry, but that it would have, in a small context area, the ability to neutralize even your own strategies, and just neutral ways that the industry is moving, to create a starting point for a new strategy. Or through cause and effect, the other elements around it will have another effect that can have a positive effect for you, the company, or the industry as a whole. This is the hourglass. It's the opposite of the diamond. It's a multiple point influence, a company, a group that influences one element. Say they have one person or one marketing piece, and then that influences massive amounts of other people, or massive amounts of other causal influences. And this is what's called cutting at the edges. It's a martial arts move. I've studied a lot of warfare strategies for the past 33 years. I've been in, that's sort of been my background specialty. Battlefield strategies and ninjutsu, martial arts, things like that. And one of the tactics that can be used in business, considering warfare is almost identical to business as far as its capability of the way that it influences, would be this. So you have one influence controlling several influences, and all those influencing in one direction. So if you had only three, one, two, three, one, two, three, we'll say these three, you have one influence, almost like a diagonal effect, then this one, adjusting either an industry or a corporation, or just like a target market of anything that you'd want to accomplish in that way. So that way, one influence can have a multiple influence on one other large element through multiple different things outside of the entity itself, as opposed to directly within. This is horizontal and vertical influence. Probably you've already heard of it. Within a company, influence from the bottom going up, down, side to side, and corporations as far as elements within a daughter corporation going up to the parent going down to the child, and or switching directly. And of course, that could mean multiple different elements, several companies or several conglomerates moving one way or another, vertically or horizontally, or influences within them. And this would be the multi-growth influence. So say you take a product and you add multiple elements within that product to it to increase the value of it. Whatever it is, like a chicken McNugget, you add a Happy Meal. Happy Meal, you add a smoothie to it. Smoothie, you add a Monopoly game to it. So each time you're adding a different aspect of value, and it's increasing its value by adding not that much more. Other goals of influence would include, so you find out what the average objectives and goals of all the other elements, we'll say corporations, companies within an industry, and what are their goals. These would be like a net for trying to acquire objectives, whether it's product sales or some sort of marketing attention of some kind. Whatever it is, you find out what they want, you create an influence, and then help to satisfy their goals, as that also helps satisfy your goals, also influencing the whole industry, also massively influencing the industry to help you as well. And the visualize wave and actions, like say this is an entire movement, like say it's the hippies, or it's some other thing that happened as far as a large movement, or it could be a small one. It could be like Black Lives Matter. It could be any sort of a movement that happens, abstract most likely as far as that, and then there'd be like flow waves as well as specific direct solid movements. And then there'd be one company that would be able to move one thing this way, one thing that way, and you could visually kind of come up with an idea, sort of like having a war room with a large map in the center on a table, and figuring out exactly what is the influence that's coming, and how do you funnel it into certain obtaining of your objectives. How do you use it towards the objective of creating value for your company, creating awareness for your company, whatever it is, whatever the objectives would be. Not specifically implying anything that it would be unethical or anything of that nature, but that it could be understood from that perspective. Some of the fundamental examples, some of the fundamental objectives, and I have some of these, would be like, these are just general psychological needs, wants, love, protection, fun, influence, and that can vary even in something as simple as simplistic and as the, like, say, steel industry for manufacturing. Even things of that nature could still use a lot of different aspects of this in its architecture, in its design, in different ways that it works with other companies. Other aspects can always be added to that, even if it doesn't seem like it. And of course, there's other things like business value needs that are specifically for business, say business-to-business goals. There could be exposure, good PR, growth, subcategories of each one of those. There could be, like, I think you could do research and have a list of each type of what would be a concept for fun, or what would be a concept for good PR, and just have a list of everything. And even if you didn't think that you need it, you could always have it as an easy reference for something that should change to routinely look over, move. So for growth, it'd be like more branches, more products, more investors.